and welcome back to the Irresistible Marketing Pod, the podcast that helps you get off the entrepreneurial struggle bus. I'm your host, Isa Gauchi, your marketing confidence cheerleader and owner of the MISA Messaging digital marketing agency for small business baddies and solopreneurs creating positive change in the world. Today's episode is about how to emotionally prepare to uplevel your business. This was the topic the squad, my club for big-hearted black sheep rebel entrepreneurs, voted on for our theme for the month of August 2025. Now, with their permission, I'm sharing our masterclass and Q&A with the podcast because, well, it was just too good not to. Hope you enjoy. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to our August 2025 Squad Masterclass. The topic y'all voted on was emotionally preparing to uplevel, and I'm really excited for this one. And this is a little bit ventures more into the emotional, spiritual side of entrepreneurship than we've gone in a while. And I'm sharing from a perspective of this is what I've pieced together as someone who was raised to really look at the glass half empty, to um, not have big hopes for myself, to uh, really feel powerless in the opportunities that were handed to me, and to feel as though these were entirely external and dependent on someone seeing and recognizing my worth. So, very much a work in progress, very much the product of a lot of intentional healing and unlearning and piecing together a system for approaching life, basically, entrepreneurship, but also life that just works better for me. So throughout this, I would really love to hear your own experience and perspective, what you found that works for you. And I want to also put the caveat that um, I have been very influenced by some of the popular stuff out there in media about manifestation and about positivity, with a very big grain of salt, where I feel like a lot of these narratives often overlook privilege, systems of oppression, um, traumatic backgrounds, and the whole toxic positivity thing. So, what I'm trying to bring to this is that whole perspective of take what works for you and leave the rest. And I highly encourage you for you to do that as well. If this doesn't feel like it applies to your life and your situation, I respect you and your judgment and your expertise on your own life. Okay. And just a reminder, while I'm in present mode, I cannot see the chat. So if you have a burning question, something you really want to weigh in on, please unmute and let me know. Okay, so I believe we're all here because we want to up-level our business, our professional circumstance in some way. We want more clients, we want more money, we want more recognition, we want more freedom, we want more of our time back, we want more power to live our lives the way we want to, that feels good for us, that feels healthy, so that we can give back to our communities. We want to be less in the toxic grind. All of us are here because we want to up level in some way. Um, and I think the myth that really sunk in for me when I was younger, and you let me know if this resonates for you, was I was just taught just work really hard and eventually someone will recognize that and give you your breakthrough, basically. So just work really hard, and if you've worked hard enough at some point, you'll be rewarded by someone, and then things will happen. Um, but then the economy crashed in 08, 09, right when I graduated college, and I started seeing some cracks in this worldview. And eventually I had to kind of throw out that whole meritocracy, bootstraps, American dream based mentality I hadn't realized really framed my perception of the world, of possibility, of money. And here's what I've pieced together instead. So, for a long time, I just operated under the directive to just work hard, just work really hard. Um, and when you're working really hard, so hard it blocks out everything else, you might not know what you're working toward, what you actually want, right? So one of the first things we have to do is kind of, if you relate to me in this, you were taught just work hard, and then you're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're not really being like, is this a path I want? Do I enjoy this work? Do I enjoy the people around me? Do I enjoy the tasks of this, like what I'm doing? You might have skipped a few steps like me. So the very first step, if we want to up level our business, upgrade our life, be emotionally prepared to move up, the very first step is presence. Where are you right now? So, the reason for this, why I harp on and on about hold on, check in with your body. What are you feeling? What's going on with you right now? What's happening in your life? Is because if you don't know where you are right now, how will you get where you want to go? Like Google Maps, if you use that for directions, it can't tell you where to get to your destination if you don't let it know where you're starting from, right? It's really hard to plot a course unless you know where you are right now. So without some sort of presence practice, you'll move a lot less strategically in your business because you won't know where you are and you probably won't know where you're going if especially if you're just operating under that I just need to work harder ethos. So, if you're a trauma babe like me, this is deep emotional work. I highly recommend you enlist the help of a licensed mental health professional to develop some sort of personal check-in with yourself every day. So there is a time, there is space for you to go within to first check in with your body. What's happening with my body? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Does something hurt? Am I getting sick? Do I need to pee right now? Like very basics of what does my physical meat suit need right now? And then a level deeper, what am I feeling? Like literally name the emotion. When I first started doing this, I'd be driving home from the newspaper office and I would challenge myself to name every emotion I could feel. And it was really hard at first. At first, I'd just be like, oh, I just feel, I don't know what that is. And so then I have to be like, I feel anxious. I feel frustrated. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like that deadline is really unreasonable. I don't like how that person spoke to me. I wish I'd stood up for myself. But it took like me literally every day on my drive home being like, Issa, what does mean? That's not an emotion. Name the emotion. So it can really start that simple depending on where you are. I also really recommend something like journaling. There's a cool book called The Artist's Way, React with an Emoji if you've heard it. But it's a cool book. It's like a 12-week self-directed course for how to stay connected with your creativity. And one of the things she recommends is morning pages, where you just write 3 pages every morning of whatever. You can, if you want to, you can just write, I don't know what to write for 3 pages. Um, but it's kind of like an emptying out of your brain and clearing space for you to be able to connect with your creativity and make room because you're processing all the clutter that's in there. Um, I'm not a morning person, so I hardly ever actually do it in the morning. For me, it's more like a dinner time activity, but I find this one of the most helpful practices for understanding what's going on with me from I think have you all heard that quote? I don't remember where it comes from. I'll try to put it in the group later if I can find it, where that 95% of human behavior is driven by subconscious motives. So we're only like unless we make a concerted effort, we might not be understanding why we're acting how we're acting, why we're procrastinating on that project, why we aren't sending that invoice reminder, why we aren't doing these things we need to do that are going to get us where we need to go that we know. We're like, I want that. Why aren't I doing it? We might not be aware without some sort of specific practice of checking in with yourself and seeing what's going on with you. So I love morning for pages for this. I love if you have a long commute or you do laundry regularly. If you're just like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? Name that emotion. And then importantly, what happens for a lot of us trauma babes that weren't trained to check in with ourselves like this, because this check-in, this presence is a very loving, nurturing practice. This is something you would do for someone you love. This is something you do for a child in your care. This is something you do for a lover. This is something you do about someone you deeply, deeply care about. And if you, like me, never had this for yourself, it's likely you were never trained to treat yourself like you deserve that sort of love, that care, that nurturing. So the part two kind of bit of presence is when you gain this awareness of, oh, I have this person in my life who's regularly speaking to me in a way that makes me feel bad. You got to then be like, oh, well, how do I want to handle that? Are there some boundaries I would like to have? Do I want to let this client go? Do I want to up my rates? Because when you have the awareness, you have the power then to rectify the situation at least somewhat for whatever is within your range of control and ability. But basically what we're building with this presence is we're learning, we're training ourselves to treat ourselves with care, with respect, with love, with appreciation, with valuing our efforts and our labor. Which, if we want to move up and be this fancy CEO and make the money and have the recognition and have the clients, we are, in a sense, asking other people to do that for us. We're asking other people to value us very highly, to treat us with a high degree of respect, to believe us, to trust in our word and our expertise. But saying the quiet part out loud, other people probably aren't going to afford you a level of respect you're not affording yourself, at least to that degree in terms of business. So we have to go first. We have to learn how to believe ourselves and trust ourselves and respect ourselves and nurture ourselves and honor our boundaries first so that then we can hold people to the same standard. Now, sort of the part three part of presence. So, one is awareness, two is how do we want to lovingly respond to that awareness of our own needs? And three is, okay, bigger picture, what do we want? Bigger picture, what do I want to evolve into? What do I want my business to evolve into? What do I want my finances to evolve into? What do I want my inner circle to evolve into? What do I want my self-concept to evolve into? And here's the thing for us trauma babes. When you start doing these presence practices, you're meeting your needs, great, great, great. And then you ask yourself, what do I want? You might be met with silence at first. You might be met with a, I just want better. I don't know. And it goes back to if you, like me, were raised with that, you just work really hard until eventually someone recognizes it and gives you something. You've literally been trained your whole life that you don't get to call the shots. You don't get to name your price. You don't get to choose. And so this is a new thing you're inviting into yourself to say, what do I want? What do I actually want? Not just what do I think I have to settle for? What do I think is the best I can get that some other people will do for me? But what do I want? What do I want is a very different question. So, if what do I want comes up with a big old blank or an anxiety attack, or I'm suddenly really sleepy and have to go sleep for 3 days, or I don't know, I can't get it, blah, 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 internal rant. Here's the thing. Your body isn't ready for you to have the answer, what do I want? Now is time for a pause and a reset to make room for that clarity to come in. And I know it's really frustrating because we're hardworking, fast-moving, very intelligent people here in the squad, and we want the answer fast so we can go piece out our 5 point strategy and start crossing things off the to-do list. So when we don't have that clear answer, what do I want? It's really hard for us to be like, okay, I need to pause until I have my answer. Because if you don't know what the next move is, what I've learned personally for me, and I think it's true for most of the clients I've worked with as well, is that if you don't know what your next move is, it's because you're supposed to stop moving for a second. Not forever, just for a moment. There's stuff that needs to be cleared out of your system. There is stuff that needs to be brought to the surface of your awareness so you can deal with it. There is perhaps rest that you really, really need to have because you're not being given the answer of what do I want? Because once you have that answer, you're going to go throw 110% all of your energy towards it, but you don't have a lot of energy to give right now because you're already burnt out and overwhelmed. So my favorite thing is find some way to get into nature. If you've lost your rhythm, nature is going to help you find it. This doesn't have to be like go to Bali on a retreat. I mean, if you have the resources and that feels aligned, good for you. If money is tight right now, if that doesn't feel accessible, can you go sit in a park and watch butterflies? Can you go on a walk? Can you go touch grass? Can we go be in nature and allow the pause and the rhythm, your internal rhythms, your sleep rhythms, your creative rhythms, your cycle, if you're someone with a uterus, can we allow a reset, a reconnecting, a re-getting back into the rhythm, a replenishing of energy? Can we just allow that to be what's happening right now? It's really hard, but take the pressure off. Don't try to force an answer. It's going to come when you're ready for it. So give yourself time to be present with yourself until you have the resources to receive an answer. So it's re in this time, get in nature. Really prioritize your presence practices. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's reading tarot. It's something that lets you sit with yourself. Invite you, if this is where you're at right now, to adopt the mantra of I'm not in a rush, I will figure it out. I'm not in a rush, I will figure it out. The answer will come when it's ready. And of course, we live in toxic slave capitalism right now. So if it takes a while for your answer to come, in between solutions are okay. You can go pick up some part-time work. You can take a break and do something else. You can allow this is right for right now. And when I understand my next big move, I will take it, but I'm going to let this be right for right now. That is totally fine. Okay. So notice part two. When we are ready for it and we're getting an answer, what do I want? What do I want? This is exciting and juicy, but for us trauma babes, desire can also be really scary. If we have not had a time in our lives where it's been safe to want more than what we have, if we've been punished for our desires, shamed for them, had our desires used against us, your system might be reacting in a fear-based way to you sitting with and spending time with this question, what do I want? So we have some retraining of our system to do. I think about it like horses. I do horse training. So a lot of abused horses have really scary associations with certain things. So the job of the trainer is not to punish the horse for their fear response or yell at them for having this fear response. The job of the trainer is to stay very calm, very patient, very grounded, and change that horse's associations with this scary thing. So say it's a broom, terrified of the broom, flipping out at the broom. Um, Gradually, we bring the broom a little closer. It usually doesn't happen all in one day. We praise every incremental bit of progress. We really love on that horse every time the broom gets a little closer to them and they're not flipping out. We're probably giving treats, we're talking lovingly, we're giving neck scritches. So I really invite you in this process. If historically desire and want has been um, a painful thing for you and you've had to learn that desire want is not safe and it's scary, please be gentle and patient with yourself in this process. So when we have our answer, this is what I'm aiming for. This is what I want for my business. I encourage you to spend incrementally more time really leaning into that, really thinking about it, like daydreaming about it, imagining how it would feel to have that. And then I want you to start like naming our emotions now, naming how you think it would make you feel if you made those 10 sales. Let's say you were like, I want 10 sales into my membership. Like that's what you're aiming for. And you're like, I really want 10 people in this group. I encourage you to really spend some time being like, well, what would that feel? If I had 10 people sign up, how do I think I'd feel about myself? Would it give me a sense of confidence? Would it give me a sense of hope, of momentum, of connectedness, of safety? Like name those emotions. And then how do we start allowing ourselves to tap into those emotions now? So let's say I think I'd feel really confident and accomplished if I had 10 people join my membership. So the way we start building into our own sense of power and our own sense of ability to get things out for ourselves and not just have to wait for the man to hand it to us um, is, well, how could I feel confident now? How could I start to feel accomplished now? Like for me, when I have a business goal, often accomplished is one of the things I think I'll feel. And I'm like, well, some ways I can tap into a feeling of accomplishment right now? And I love the feeling of crossing something off my to-do list. So maybe that day I'll put very doable, very manageable. I can definitely do that today, things on my to-do list, and then I'll give myself the satisfaction of crossing them off. And then that lets me feel a little bit more like the person who has achieved what I'm going for today before I've achieved it. It helps me start tapping into the the version of me that already has what I want. And it makes it easier for me to imagine that getting what I want is possible for me. Okay. So the other thing, when we are being present with our desire, that I have a lot of fellow trauma babes in here, is checking in. So the person that has a sold out membership, let's say, who's lots of people are looking to for guidance and expertise and help because they trust that I am the person to provide what they need. I'm having my needs met. I'm not worried about money. I'm feeling validated. I'm moving as the leader that these people need me in. I just said my internet connection is unstable. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
All right. When I'm thinking about that person, so probably like this is someone who trusts themselves as a leader, that's a good leader that understands their power, their expertise, their influence, and wields it wisely to provide their members with the best service possible, the best care possible, um, that is creating a safe, structured container. How do I start treating myself like I believe I'm that person, right? Am I right now, before it's happened, treating myself as though I deserve the result I'm hoping for? Am I tr respecting my expertise in that way? Am I thinking seriously about how I want to wield the power as a leader? Am I trusting myself and my perspective and my judgment? Am I recognizing when I do things well? Am I accountable when I don't do things as well? Handle it in a way that's more aligned with my integrity next time? Am I treating myself like that sort of leader right now that deserves that sort of respect I'm asking clients for? Am I treating myself like the sort of person who can emotionally handle the responsibility of 10 people relying on me? Am I treating myself like someone who needs to take care of her own mental emotional health so that um, I'm not putting my damage on my people? Am I treating myself like my emotional and mental health is top priority for my business and it needs my attention and care and respect? Am I making moves as though, of course, 10 people are going to sign up? Why wouldn't they? This is amazing. I know just what I'm doing. No one else is offering this the way I am, coming from my context. Am I treating myself like someone who wields their power wisely? Am I being careful with my words now? Am I being careful about my boundaries now? Am I being careful about how I talk to people now when I feel like I'm powerless? How do I start treating myself like the person that has the result I want now? And then also, do I have any work to do on clearing away some blocks like grief? Like, wow, I never had people in my corner building me up like this, and now I'm having to retrain myself how to do it as an adult. Like, there's a lot of emotion that comes with that. There's a lot of emotions that can rise when you're like, wow, I've been waiting all this time for someone to tell me I'm worthy, I deserve this, but I just figured out I have to do that for me. That's bringing up some emotions. Have I processed? Have I dealt with that? So I don't feel like an imposter if 10 people sign up for my program tomorrow. And with more responsibility, with great, what's that like Spider-Man saying? With great power comes great responsibility, right? Am I being responsible for my level of power now? As in, am I managing stress at the level I'm at in my business now well? Do I have healthy coping skills for setbacks? Do I have a game plan for managing my day-to-day stress and mental health? And do I have a game plan and a plan of support in place for when things are really challenging? Like, how am I doing with things being really challenging right now? How am I doing with my level of responsibility right now? Do my coping skills match my current level of responsibility? And how can I make them even better so that they don't crack under the pressure of the more that I'm calling in? And then, really importantly, how are my boundaries right now? More people in your business are going to be wanting more from you, more attention, um, more attention is a big one, more communication, more answers, more support. There might be conflicts between people or conflicts you didn't know to expect when your business welcomes in more people. So, are your boundaries at a level right now where it can handle that influx of people and the inevitable conflicts, communication issues that arise when we interact with other humans? So, are our boundaries protecting our scope of work, our pricing, our time, our attention, our mental health at the level we're at right now? And if not, what do we need to do to clean that up so we're not getting too drained at the level we're at right now? And how will we need to upgrade our boundaries so that we can handle more people in our business? Do we need a harsher late payment fees? Do we need to change our pricing structure so we're getting paid up front? Do we need to charge more? Do we need to put more into the terms of service? Um, and just so you know, this is ongoing. Every business I know is always adding stuff into their contracts, their terms of service. The more they interact with people and understand where their boundaries are, that sometimes you don't know where a boundary is until someone crosses it for the first time, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had to tell people that, but I sure will now. So your boundaries will need to be something you're constantly present with, paying attention to, being willing to modify and upgrade, especially as your business grows. Okay. So we're tapping into the desire. We're feeling into who is this person I'm becoming who gets the kind of results in her business that I want. There is a danger here that we can fall into bitterness of our present life based on the disparity between our present life and where we want to go. But the energy you bring to your work is really, really, really important. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But, or actually, no, that's on this slide. The energy you bring to your work, your right now is really, really important because if you're approaching your present life, where you're at presently in your business with this, no one ever shows up for me, nothing ever works out for me. This is probably pointless. Like that flavor is not that's not the vibe in the party we want, right? But if you're like, wow, I have so much freedom right now to structure my business exactly the way I want to bring in exactly the right people. I have so much room to play, so much freedom. I'm never going to be at the beginning of my business again. I'm never going to have this much of a blank slate. It is so fun to create. I'm so grateful I'm having the opportunity to become aware of myself in these ways I never was before, like opening a business well. Like, I can't believe how much I'm upgrading myself, my worldview, how I see things, how I interact, my connection to my own power. Like, how can you romanticize this moment right now? How can you find something to love about every day, even if it's hard? And I know there can be times when you're like, how the fuck am I going to pay my bills or everything's gone to shit? But maybe the neighbor has a cat that wants you to scratch its ears every day. How can we really lean into and notice these tiny moments, these things that we can be grateful for, even if it's, I got to breathe clean air today, or I got to have clean water today, or thank goodness there was toilet paper. Like, we can scale it back, but it's really going to save your heart and your mental health, no matter how hard things get, if you are still keeping an eye out for the beauty and feeling into the beauty. So, I know it's annoying. This can really verge into toxic positivity land, but I do think gratitude is a really important practice for you to build for the mental health, long-term sustainability of you running a business. Because this is hard. This is really hard shit. We're cracking ourselves open in a way very few people are ever going to have the guts to do. We're making ourselves vulnerable in a way very few people are ever going to have the guts to do in opening a business. And so this can be hard. This can be really hard work. So I think it's so, and especially if you have been trained in this negative way of viewing the world, to establish some sort of way to notice what's going well, the people who are showing up, the support systems you do have, the things that are going well, your skills, the resources you are bringing to the table. Um, and really pay attention to who does show up for your business right now, who's interacting with the post, who's telling you they like what you're doing, who's donating, who's showing up, and really lean into our appreciation and gratitude for the folks who are already here in the business. Really spending some time thinking about them and appreciating them and figuring out how do we attract more folks like them. Because the thing that's going to get your clients to come in is love, that attractive energy of welcome. I'm so happy you're here. We're going to have such a great time together, rather than the energy of like, no one ever shows up for me. Are you going to prove me wrong? Right? Like, which room do you want to go in? The energy you're bringing to your work is really, really important. And then personally, how do you make your own day to day more beautiful? I don't want you to hate your life until you hit this big goal. I want you to love your life every day on the way to hitting that big goal and beyond. And that is a skill that you have to train and practice. So, are there little things you can do to romanticize your life? Can you spray on a scent? Can you light a candle? Can you go touch some grass? Like, what are little ways we can make the grind less of a grind and more of a delightful journey? Okay. So here's the thing. We've touched on it before, but especially if building this sort of presence with yourself, this awareness of what's driving your behaviors, looking at your patterns, tapping into desire, figuring out how we need to upgrade how we take care of ourselves and how we move to get to from point A to point B, you're probably going to notice some blocks. What's been preventing you from sending that invoice reminder? What's been preventing you from showing up in your marketing? What's happening? What's happening? And here's the thing, your energy, like we just talked about, other people can read it, right? But also, it's going to inform how you move, how much you believe what you want is possible for you. Because if you don't believe it's possible for you, you are going to be making futile efforts or you're going to stop trying. Or if you're showing up like everyone lets me down, it's kind of like you're already disappointed in the people that are there, which isn't a good feeling on the other end. So the blocks we have to become aware of in order to uplevel our business largely comes back to the stories you tell yourself habitually about yourself. How do you talk to yourself in your own head? How do you describe yourself in your own head and to other people? What are the stories about other people? Do you have this strong, everyone lets me down, no one shows up for me? And I'm sure that's been true in some very painful, pivotal points in your life. It sure was for me. But is that true of everybody? And here's a hard one. When someone comes and challenges that narrative, what happens? Like for a long time, I was so used to abusive relationships. Someone would come up healthy and ready to love me in a really great way. And I'd just shut down. I'd have all these walls come down and I'd get numb. And I'd just be like the little processing wheel. I'd be like, does not compute, does not compute, does not compute, must avoid. So, like, when people would literally show up at my doorstep ready to love me, which is what I thought I wanted, in a healthy way, I would just be like, I don't understand. I have to go ghost you for 3 weeks. Not because I was a bad person, but because I hadn't worked through these blocks yet and understood that my story was everyone's mean to me, everyone hates me, everyone leaves me, everyone lets me down. And so when someone was like, no, I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm ready to love you, I'm ready to be here, I was like, well, now my whole worldview doesn't make sense, so I need to just go hibernate. And how you approach what area of your life is kind of how you approach every area of your life. So it's entirely possible if that's your story about people. And then when people show up ready to work with you in a healthy way, and you're like, I don't get it, bye. It's entirely possible that could be happening. Or the inverse of people only love me in this really unhealthy way, so I'm only gonna accept people who show up in this familiar way. So, if you're a trauma babe like me and you're not used to people showing up for you in a healthy way and respecting your boundaries and valuing you properly in love, in business, we got to check in with our old stories because our old story of everyone lets me down, no one shows up for me is not the story that's going to get you to more clients, that's going to get you to people who respect you and value you and honor your boundaries. We need a new story. And yes, again, reminder, I really hope every entrepreneur is working with a licensed mental health professional because this shit goes deep. This is deep stuff. This is deep emotional work we're doing. We got to check in on our stories about money. Where does money come from? Who gets money? Who's allowed to get money? And this is really hard. I think everyone in squad right now is a woman of color. A lot of us are queer. We have a lot of marginalizations where we have been historically shut out of wealth. So I think for money, especially, if you have this, there's no way I can make money because history is against me. What's really important here is finding examples of people we can relate to and look up to who feel like we could know them, who are being successful in business, who are getting results we want, and proving to ourselves that our story is not possible for me actually isn't true because I have all these other examples that I am consuming regularly and using to change my story. We got to check in on our stories about business, about professionalism, about the world. And when we run into these big blocks, we got to process them. I'm sorry, we can't, awareness of the block isn't enough and it's really uncomfortable. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to find a way to be present with the block a little bit at a time to explore it. How did it get there? How is it affecting how I move? Is it tied to stories I tell myself without thinking? Would I like to update those stories? Is it tied to habits I'd like to change? So, awareness of the block is not enough. Spending time healing, processing, working through, addressing the block is really important. Um, I also think it's really important here to let other people help you work through these blocks and change your stories, get other perspectives, get outside your frame of reference. So I love therapy for this with a trusted therapist. I love podcasts for this. I love talking with colleagues and creatives and mentors. Um, I love turning to the squad, turning to me. I love using fictional characters, filtering our social media feed so we are only looking at the stuff that feeds the worldview we are going to need to get to the result in our business that we want. Um, yes. Now here's the thing. We can't just be like, oh, I found the block. Oh, I found a stupid story I'm telling myself. Okay, change. This takes practice. I'm going to butcher this description, but physiologically, in our brain, there are pathways for thoughts where there are these neural grooves that get reinforced every time you think the same thought. And so it becomes easier to think something you've thought before. So physiologically, a belief is just something you've thought so many times, it's become a brain groove that your brain defaults to because it's the easiest pathway to take because it's the one you've thought the most. Which the good news for us means we can create new beliefs by practicing new thoughts. But practice is the key word here because we have to challenge how many times we thought the old thought, right? By building repetition, a practice of repetition for the new, healthier stories we want to become our new worldview. So, this is why things like affirmations, mantras, chanting is really important. I use my coach's gratitude affirmation credit appreciation journal. I think it's $7. I posted it in the squad before. I'll post it again, where it's a daily practice. You write four things you're grateful for things. I'm for I have it. Okay. I'll post it in the squad too. So it's four things you're grateful for, four things you want, four things you will do towards getting what you want, an affirmation in the morning. And then at night, it's four things that I did well today, four things I appreciate about myself today. So it's a really takes a couple minutes in the morning, a couple minutes at night. You do it for a month, you're going to start seeing how you view yourself, how you view the world, opportunities change because you are practicing new ways of thinking. And it's really important to speak to and about yourself with love and kindness in your own head and to other people. So I want you to start really noticing and being careful about what you say about yourself. We are not self-deprecating leaders. We are leaders that own our power. We are leaders that appreciate the contributions we are bringing via our work. We are people who have been historically marginalized, people who have historically not been allowed the freedom we are scratching out for ourselves. We are people that are needed. We all know in the squad, our perspective, our approach is needed because we needed a nest at some time in our life and we couldn't find one. So we've got to learn how to appreciate and love on ourselves with the kindness and respect that the courage of the journey of our business deserves. Okay. So, upgrading our business, upgrading our role, basically giving ourselves a promotion by whatever result you're trying to call into your business, requires our own increased love, appreciation, and respect for ourselves. which at the most basic level requires us to upgrade our self-care routine, for us to be valuing our sleep, our rest, that we get enough fun in our life, that we're getting our basic physical needs met and our emotional needs met, that we are honoring our boundaries, that we're checking in on our stories. So, how you treat yourself, if you want other people to treat you better, make sure you're treating yourself better too. And really importantly, please get comfortable asking for help. Leaders do not do it alone. The fact that we are a leader implies there are other people involved. Coaches need coaches, teachers need teachers, therapists need therapists, mentors need mentors. Everybody needs help. We got to get comfortable asking for it. Share the load you're carrying it, because I know every one of you in the squad, every one of you listening on the podcast helps other people with their load. Allow others to help you with yours. Get it off your chest, even if it's just in your journal. Stop trying to bottle it all up inside. And remember, especially when we're talking about the stories we're telling ourselves, about business, about other people, about money, every great story needs great editors. Talk to people. Be careful about who you're trusting your stories with. It's got to be someone who navigates their life, their business in a way you admire. Don't just trust this vulnerable information with anyone to support you. It's got to be someone who has the capacity, the consent, and who also approaches life in a way you respect and admire. So, run the stories you tell yourself that hurt by loving editors. New perspectives are going to save you. And then lastly, create. I know a lot of us can feel really powerless, especially with what's going on in the world, especially if it's been a while since your last client, if it feels like it's taking a long time. We can fall into that trap of feeling powerless. And one of the easiest ways I found for myself to remember that I'm not powerless, I'm not helpless, is to literally make something. And this can be however you can tap into this easily for you. I can sing a song and feel better. I can dance a little and feel better. I can bake cookies and feel better. So make art, make art. Also make friends, make connections. Things will happen. I went out to lunch yesterday with someone. I was just kind of sounding out about an opportunity. And now I have 3 interviews this week for potential new avenues. So yeah, you'd be surprised what happens when you do this work. And I do want to say it's hard to do this work. I often shy away from it. I go backwards. I revert back to unhealthy habits. But when you can tap yourself back into this process, really beautiful and amazing things can happen. Okay. That's it. That's the presentation. I'd love to open it up to discussion or questions or support. Would anyone like to go?
Um, I, you think I'll go unless Amanda wants to go?
You can go first.
Um, I'm my level up that I'm working on is to do more um uh either like consulting or investigation with AI surveillance software that affects, which is in a lot of policing software. There's AI already um, inside the software that is around it, that's polices people, whether that be like license plates or um, body cams or anything that involves like policing or surveillance. So, because most of those programs are an algorithm that is protected by companies. I decided the best way for me to learn about how to do it is just to get a job training AI. So that's basically what I did. Was That's basically what I'm doing now. My job hasn't officially started, but I had to do all the testing and all that stuff and get how to get paid and like get on the Slack group, like do all the kind of pre employment things. And so as far as I know, because most of the people around here tend to be older, I don't know if there's anybody in my county, let alone just in general, people who do investigation that have actually trained AI. Um, there are people who have more of those types of skill sets, but those are people like in the NSA and the CIA and things like that. And they have a whole different set of skill sets. So, as of now, I even though I haven't started this job specifically, I actually really like the way these jobs are organized because it's basically like a lot of nerds like all over the world. And we're training for products that already exist. So we're training for products that you probably have used before. So, um, you know, it's yeah, so it is like a nice feeling because since I'm on these teams and I've been training to do this, um, I do realize that you can enter a lot of like racism and homophobia in these programs, the humans can. And so it feels good for me to be there doing this because um, yeah, because as many non-racist people doing this are better, because it makes it. So, and, you know, I'm kind of, um, I'm still sort of like dealing with how to like price this stuff out and how to price these services out, and then how to price um there's some other things like legally we can't talk about our clients and things like that, so I have to come up with a strategy in order to like abide by the confidentiality agreements that I have with these companies, which is probably an easier thing to get around. But yeah, I'm just like I think I'm kind of at that point where as of now, I've started to realize that this is so like relaxing way to work when everything is more transparent. That like I'm almost at that point, like even this morning, that I was like, maybe I should just price this so high that like maybe I should just price this service so high that if someone doesn't want it, and just like how you mentioned to me, I think it was a couple weeks ago, um, just put it on your website, like what the price is, and then you don't even, someone can call you. Because like as of now, just to deal with people being so organized is like almost like a vacation versus like frantic attorneys using low tech crap and you know, it's yeah. And I think maybe I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking about this during the level up. Oh yeah, spicy, sorry. The level up discussion. I was like, maybe my level up should just be like, if you want to emotionally bother me, you have to pay a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't
What's
know if, yeah.
so what's the question? Or is there a
I,
question?
I don't, I think probably the question is like, I'm still thinking about this because, like I said, I have just started. This was the plan that I hatched in my head about like, hey, I could do all these services for people and and help all these people. But now that I'm doing it, I'm like, maybe I just want to stay here for like 6 months and not
Hmm.
even worry about or like 5 months and not even worry about my PI career or just if someone wants to take, I mean, someone wants to give me a job if I have no other jobs that are lined up. I mean, I'm literally, yeah, if that's just and maybe I should just be thinking of my time um as my like emotional time. Because let me tell you something, robots are not asking for any emotional labor. They do not care or do not care. They also don't want to talk to you about their divorces or anything. It's amazing.
I'm just going to pause this for a second because I want to make sure Amanda gets a chance to get support if she would like in a moment. So, okay, so you're thinking about taking the job and pricing your uh, AI investigative work really highly. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there any emotions that are coming up around that you need to sort through?
Well, I guess the thing that I was thinking about when you were during your presentation was like, um, you know, the part of, a lot of your presentation was around, finding this balance that was more like positive and coming to these decisions as like a positive thing. But I'm kind of like as I was thinking about the process of how I got here, mine was like, you humans have burned me, especially the white male humans. It's like, if you don't want to, I can work for the robots who literally don't care. And by the way, our teams, you can tell who's been burned by the patriarchy because there's all these women of color and people of color with like queer flags and stuff on our Slack accounts. So you can tell like who's been burned in America by um the tech bro like lifestyle and like culture, which is very much as broed out as the legal culture. And so I'm as I was thinking about this, I was like, I'm getting, I'm sort of coming to this where it wasn't a point of like positivity based on what you're it, what you presented. It was more like, I'm sick of you all. If you want to talk to me, this is how much it costs. Because um because if not, you're going to spend an hour talking to me about a job and you're going to sneak in some emotional labor and
Uh,
and you're going
okay,
to yeah.
so here's how I might suggest reframing this.
Hmm.
Um, it sounds like a few things. One, we're recognizing you, Natalie, are feeling a bit burnt out.
Yeah.
And this is a good solution for now or for however long it takes till you want to do something else to take a break, to opt out of interactions like the ones you're describing. So,
Yeah.
one, I'd like to applaud you for like, hey, I'm recognizing I'm burnt out. I need a break from these dude rows. Here's a great
Yeah.
option while I'm kind of resetting. Okay. So I'm not saying you have to be positive about how these men treated you, but how I am saying is the way you tell the story to yourself, like, it sounds like maybe you're like, well, you fucked me over really good and now I'm blah, blah, you know? What if it's that
Yeah.
I'm recognizing I'm burnt out, I'm taking an empowered, healthy move for myself to switch gears and take a break from this bullshit for a bit with this other thing. How does that land?
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's probably a better way to reframe this because after doing this for maybe a while, maybe I'm not going to feel like this after a month.
I
My
also
prof,
find it
yeah,
I also find it exciting that now it takes the pressure off where it sounds like there was some resistance last time we talked about get 50% up front. You got to charge appropriately, where it sounded like there was some resistance in your body to that. This also, what I find exciting about this solution is you're not in a rush for someone to buy it then. Like you're doing the AI training thing. You're probably not overpricing it. You're pricing it appropriately for the skill level and specialization you're bringing, but you also aren't desperate to make the sale. So I do find this scenario
yeah,
and a nice way to ease into it, where you can be marketing it without feeling the terror, but also you're not feeling pressured to take it for or to take on these projects for way less than is fair for what
yeah,
you're bringing.
because yeah, and that probably, um, I think a part of me just needed to like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the icy cold, um, global culture of work. And for some reason, that seems that is actually less traumatizing than paternal capitalism of white America. I'm like, oh my God, I'd rather be treated like a cog in the global capitalist system than I would being a person of color in a broed out America.
Gotcha.
So,
So
and
I'd like to leave you with one thought and then switch to over to Amanda. So I think there's something else really interesting in here about your ideal client because I've heard the exhaustion of the emotional labor of the dude bros you've been working with. And I heard
yeah,
both PIs, but also lawyers that are sneaking in stuff into that wasn't agreed into your scope of work or demanding some sort of emotional labor. And so I think this is something I'd love for you to explore on your own and for you to bring to cheerleading and the Facebook group about, okay, what does that tell me, A, about who my ideal clients are and are not? And B, how do I need to upgrade my boundaries so if someone does try to slip something into the scope of work that wasn't agreed to, I'm prepared to push back on that or to reject it altogether. So I think there's some stuff in there where we need to think about, well, who are we willing to engage with at all? And B, what do we do when folks start pushing on boundaries, emotional labor wise and scope of work wise? So I just want to leave you with that right now because I think it's more than we have time to get into today, but let's definitely keep talking about it.
that's good. That's good because it'll give me a chance to work on those goals kind of slowly and maybe sort of look at them one by one. Initially I'm like, oh my God, I got to improve all these things like yesterday. And now I can kind of like take them and see which ones I can attack like slowly.
That sounds like a really good plan of action to me.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Amanda, would you like to receive support or have a share?
Yes. First thing, thank you for doing this. Like, it's so weird because everything I'm doing with my group sessions and dealing with personal life stuff, like it all lines up and is tied to this. And my question for you, whether you just talking generally or personal experience, how have you worked through a money block slash people showing up block? Because they're kind of tied together.
Yeah. Okay. Those are both really great. I'll I'll tackle the money block one first. I think I've shared here and on the podcast, I had slash have a lot of money blocks. And I didn't know I did. I didn't know. I did know when my coach would tell me to raise my prices, I'd have a panic attack. Like I would literally have a panic attack afterwards, even though like she'd make sense. She's like, you physically can't work for this rate. You said that's ridiculous. And I'd have like I remember I had a 2 week shutdown after she told me I needed to double my price on something that I later wound up like 10xing the price on. Um, and the thing that I think had to happen first was the awareness. Was all I knew at first is we'd talk about money and I'd panic. And so then I'd avoid money talks or conversations. So the first thing I had to clear was be like, okay, why am I having a panic attack whenever money comes up? Like, what happened? What are my stories about money? What are like kind of the pivotal memories tied to money? And then for me, not to get too woo-woo and epigenetic, but I had this huge like I was learning about my family history during the pandemic. And I learned that my ancestors had like a silver mine in California that was still Mexico before the borders crossed us. And like it was kind of like a Game of Thrones thing happened where they invited white folks in and then they were slaughtered. And then like there's all this family history about how like the men kept getting lynched for riding fine horses into town, and then like family patriarch is like you have to marry white people from now on or our line's gonna die out. All this family history about how back in my bloodline, wealth, abundance, success literally got us killed. And so for me, it was a little bit of a spiritual journey to be like, oh, some of this baggage is ancestral. Some of this is lineage, and to kind of do some spiritual processing around that was really important um, for me, and to really sit with that and think about that. Um, and then also like to examine pivotal money events in my life and what I made that mean about money and how I was valued and how other people valued me. So the first was understanding my physical reaction to what was happening when money came up. Second was, okay, what are my stories about money? Third was, where do those stories come from? And fourth was, is there another way I can think about this? Do I want new stories? So that one, I got help. I downloaded a bunch of money workbooks for people that talk about this sort of ancestral trauma healing around money and wealth sort of abundance. Um, I got interested in manifestation, and that one I had to find some people I really resonated with to like again avoid the kind of um, did you manifest it or was it white privilege or toxic positivity? Someone I really like if you're interested in manifestation is Samara Kasai. They were on my podcast and they just bring a really cool trauma-informed mental health perspective to manifestation. So I really appreciate their work. A lot of processing. And then honestly, when it came to business, I kind of had to learn the hard way. So I had to wildly underprice my marketing plans, watch them fly off the shelves, kill myself delivering on them, realize I was resenting my client because I wasn't getting enough in exchange for my labor and expertise and how much use they were getting out of them. And for me, it took that for me to be able to raise the prices to feel better. But and maybe you need that too. I wish I'd hadn't needed to feel why it wasn't sustainable by doing it before I could raise my prices. But I think that was also important part of my learning journey. But if you can skip that step and do the emotional processing to be like, oh no, I don't need to kill myself to prove to myself this is actually worth more. I would skip that step if it's possible. But also, if you need that step too, don't hate on yourself. There's reasons why we have those blocks there. So that was my personal story. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And sorry, I forgot the other one you wanted to know about.
It was a people showing up block. And I know part of it is I'm a newer business, transitioning into a different clientele group, and things take time, but there's also some blocks coming up with me personally that is related, but also not related, and just your experience working through that, if that makes
Oh, like
sense.
what do you do if no one shows up, sort of thing?
Yeah, if people aren't showing up, and then dealing with issue like feelings with like having to be visible and the blocks that come around that.
Ah, okay. So processing it when no one shows up. Um, yeah, that's a good one. I think that's one every service provider goes through at some point. It kind of reminds me of how like every great band plays to an empty room at some point. And it's sort of that I love this work so much. I'm going to do it even if no one's there. And then part
Mm-hmm.
of it is I think it's an important stretching of your own resilience and ego and belief in yourself. That's kind of an important like developmental stage in that of an entrepreneur. Like, how do I validate myself when literally no one else is? And then how can I make something of the experience? Like, so how do I not write this experience off as a waste? How can I still find value in this? Like, what did I learn from it? Did I literally get stuff I can use for content later? Like I've taught to empty rooms and turned it into a podcast, I think, or a YouTube video before, and then like showed up with the same enthusiasm when I was promoting it. Um, Another one that was funny is I had people show up and I forgot to record it, so I literally had to do the whole thing over again. Um, I think it's like what do you bring to it? It's the energy you bring and are you looking for the value in it? Like okay, this is a dumb example, but I remember one time back on old school computers, I was writing my midterm and I had to go to the bathroom and I didn't save it and my I came back and my sister's cat was lying on the keyboard and had deleted half my midterm. And I was so mad. I was so furious. And I wanted to kill her at the time, but my sister was like, well, Gracie taught you a valuable lesson about saving things. You're never going to forget to save anything ever again. And in the moment, I was so pissed off, but you know what? She was right. I never forgot to save anything ever again. I have backups now. I have backups on backups now. Like, so how do we find the value and the lesson, and how do we make something of it when we have a setback? Is kind of always my answer. Um, and then the deeper part, if you have capacity, is to look at, did I really want some people to show up? This was a hard one for me because there have been classes when I felt frantic about money, so I thought I just needed to throw something out there to like throw spaghetti at the wall. And so I gave myself a bunch of busy work and no one showed up. And then when I really thought about it later, I was like, I was so tired, I didn't actually want people to show up. I was so tired, I didn't have capacity to actually serve people were they to come. I was so fragile by how much I was overworking myself and spinning my wheels. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. So there is that accountability of, did I have capacity for people to come? Did I want people to come? Like, did I really truly want people to come? Is also an aspect I think is um, powerful to look at. And then you also mentioned visibility. Can you say a little bit more about that? What about visibility?
um just kind of the same thing, your personal experience with it, like if there was any um ways you worked through that other than, because I mean I do stuff and I know these things take time. It's not an instant go order something online and go pick it up type thing. I know it's not like that, but I'm just
Like visibility, like I'm afraid someone will see it, or I'm worried what people will think of it. Like,
just it not being received well and in the way I want it to be received. And I mean people can only receive it in the ways there's stuff that's out of my control and I understand that. But just putting what I feel is my best forward, so this way it can be received by the people who need to receive it, if that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, so one, I'm having a little trouble just because I've been visible for a long time. So I'm trying to remember back when I do remember when I first started my business and I was coming from a very sanitized corporate environment where you were not allowed to be political. Then I was starting to market my business and I was talking to my coach and I'm like, it like fills me with a cold dread whenever I see my old coworkers are watching my Instagram stories. And she's like, why aren't they blocked then? And I was like, what? That's not very friendly. And she's like, if them looking at you is preventing you from showing up, block them. And it was hard for me at first to be like, oh, I'm allowed to just take them out of my audience. And then once I did, I was like, oh, you're right. It's so much easier to say the thing when they're not looking at me because I removed them. So there's that, like take them out of your email list, take them out of your block them on social media if you have any people like that where you're like, oh God, they saw that. Um, Take them out. Uh, in terms of can I say that without people being mad? One was realizing I can't control what other people do and planning ahead for what do I do if I say the thing and it makes someone mad and they're mean to me? What do I do? Um, and so having a plan, planning ahead for like how will I up my self-care? Do I want to respond? Blah, 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 really helped so that I wouldn't feel stuck in the moment. I also, after doing a few interviews with entrepreneurs I really admire, and them talking about how kind of one of the pivotal growth stages was when the dude bros started showing up and telling them they were too sexy or not allowed to do it that way or not allowed to swear or being really weird about them being like awesome, hot young women of color making money. The trolls showing up and just feeling really interested by how they processed that. And then I realized there was kind of a pattern when I was hearing the entrepreneur stories with these women is like the trolls kind of show up when you're about to blow up. And so I decided my new story that I was going to practice was every mean comment, every troll that showed up on my stuff was a sign I was about to blow the fuck up, which made me kind of excited when someone, in a weird way, when someone showed up with a mean comment. Like that story, I practiced it enough and had enough examples to be like, oh, what if I saw it as a not, oh God, this person is being mean. I have to deal with this person. What if I saw it as a sign like I'm about to make a fuck ton of money. I'm gonna go viral. I'm gonna be on these 40 under 40. Like, what if I just decided every mean comment meant that? And it really helped me, which might sound flip, but it did really help me. I think that's what helped me the most. But the other thing is, I think there's never a point where anyone doesn't feel anything. Something should someone just strike a chord or be mean or get you on the wrong day? Like there's not a person that gets to the point where they're immune to feeling something about that. But there are plenty of people that have great self-care and support practices so that it doesn't crush them. Like they have a
Mm.
way to handle it or put up boundaries or take a break or know how to love themselves really well through that. And it's okay if it's a work in progress. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I think sometimes when you get brave enough to go there and say what you really want, or you're especially vulnerable, and then you get the response of people really connecting with you, of you finding your next best client, of you finding colleagues that are gonna like be be your ride or die. Like you find people and community through being courageous enough to share in a strong, vulnerable way also gives you a really powerful emotional incentive to keep going. And it's a really beautiful feeling. it's scary to share it like that, but it's a really beautiful feeling when you do and people connect. And you get something so good out of it that you have that as an anchor to hold on to so that when people respond in bad ways, you're like, but it's worth it because look at the connections that are also possible when I share like this.
Mm, okay. So basic. Okay, so I'm on the right track. I just need to keep going. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, y'all, any closing thoughts?
I'm gonna remember the trolls show up right before you blow up. That's a song.
I don't know
I
why it just made me laugh to start thinking about it like that.
I think it needs beats. I think it needs something. I don't know if that's like a, I don't know if it's gonna be like hip hop or more like pop. That's for you to decide, not me. But I think that's like a good song because I think that really does
Good
happen.
song, Natalie. We could have our own squad theme song then.
I know. But I think that is, I don't know if that's how the trolls sense when you're gonna blow up, but maybe it's kind of like when people have arthritis before the rain. I'm wondering if you can use it like that.
Yeah, that reminds me, there are a few podcast episodes I wanted to recommend. So I'll put it in our squad group and in the show notes for the podcast. But I would listen to the Alyssa Zander interview, So You Want to Go Viral, where she talks about this, and also the Tiffany Chung How to Get Out of a Business Doom Spiral interview about this, where they talk a lot about the trolls and what it's like to be really visible as a hot young woman of color that's kicking ass online and how some people have get very triggered by that and how these powerful, incredible entrepreneurs handle that. I find those interviews really inspiring. And then I think it's a podcast episode. It might just be a blog post. I can't remember now, but the kind of overlooked rite of passage of how do you deal with the no-shows. So highly recommend those episodes. I'll put them in the Facebook group and in the show notes for the podcast, but those are all good ones for the topics you asked about, Amanda. And then oh, I have a bunch of on money blocks too, so I'll share those as well. Um why am I blanking on her name? I'll share a few of those as well. But I bet we could also ask Monique, our squad member Monique, for some good getting over money block resources because I know she's our resident expert here. Um, all right, awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for 90 minutes. It's a joy as always. Squad, please use the Facebook group if you need any support or have any questions or want to share stuff in between sessions. Otherwise, I will see you next Monday for our avoidance session where we bring all the projects we're procrastinating on and knock them out in 90 minutes. Okay. Love you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you would like support, fabulous community, and guidance for turning marketing into your favorite art project, you'd be very welcome to join the Squad, my exclusive club for big-hearted, black sheep, rebel entrepreneurs making the world a better place through health, wellness, beauty, social justice, and the creative arts. This is an evolution of my marketing mastermind, and yes, you do still get a monthly masterclass on a topic voted on by members so that the curriculum and the challenges and the prompts and the projects are always designed to address precisely what you're experiencing in your business right now. And yes, you do still get a monthly cheerleading session where I help you tackle whatever challenges you're facing in your business, be they strategic, tactical, or emotional. And yes, you also still get 2 monthly structured co-working sessions to support you in finally tackling your most procrastinated but most need to get done projects. And you still get that online community to ask questions, get feedback, get copy editing, get strategy help, and receive support 24/7. Yes, all that is and more is still there. But I've realized just how incredibly potent and powerful the community is. And along with my evolving relationship with the coaching industry in general, I'm realizing that this is a little different than a typical marketing mastermind, a typical business coaching container. It's it's really a membership club. It's kind of like a Soho house, like a virtual Soho house for manic pixie dream entrepreneurs morphing into main character energy, where you no longer have the shitty boss to push back against and succeed out of spite. And you're finding your way as the leader, as the CEO you are meant to be, where you get to set your own prices, where you get to set the conditions that you will allow to access your brilliance, your work, your emotional labor, where you're calling all of the shots and you get to choose who are my most aligned people who I want to serve. What is the work I most love doing? How do I drown out the noise? Cut out all of the extra stuff I've been doing just because I think I should, but it's really not the work I love to do. How do I start giving myself permission to expand, to grow, to stop playing by old rules, to stop having to bump up against the edges of the container we've been put in before? And this is such a deep, powerful work, not only for your business and growing that revenue and growing your following and your audience and creating bigger impact. Yes, all of that, but also this tends to require really, really deep healing. It changes your life when you make this shift from good employee to CEO. And if you're a person who has historically had to fit yourself into boxes and play along and just accept this as the best you can get, and then one day you're like, nah, I'm calling my own shots. And then the people around you are looking at you like you're crazy. They're urging you to go back to a safer path, to take less risks, to stop wanting so much, to stop wanting more than the lot that they have accepted in life. It can be really challenging on relationships. It can be really hard having safe places to talk about what you're experiencing in your business without people immediately telling you to go get a J job, or maybe tone it down a bit, or you should really take that bad fit project you've just had a bad feeling about and they're not going to pay you until another 3 months, but want you to start work immediately. Like, it can be really challenging to stay the course, to keep believing in yourself if you have no safe places to talk about this stuff that aren't going to shut you down or take the wind out of your sails. And the opposite is true too. Like, it is so powerful when you are in a room or a virtual room full of people who get it, who are doing the same thing, who have similar big dreams, who are changing all the rules, who are doing cool stuff and are working really hard to build this belief in themselves, to trust their own voice first and foremost. Lots of boundaries work is happening here, right? When you're in a room where those are the people you can talk to, confide in, vent to, bounce ideas off of, oh my gosh, it's such a game changer. The energy around the whole business just changes, and it's fun. Like, business becomes way less stressful and more like communal art project that you can't wait to go meet with your business besties to talk about, and get hyped up, know you're gonna be supported and get cheerleading. It makes such a difference. Anyhow, I went off on a tangent, but anyway, so I'm changing my messaging. I'm rebranding a little bit to kind of encompass this club feeling, like the power of having this type of community, because powerful friendships are formed in the squad. We're constantly being inspired by each other's creativity. And even though we don't pitch to each other, it is not uncommon for members to become each other's clients just by hearing all about the cool stuff y'all are working on. It's also not uncommon for members to become the referral that gets each other their next favorite clients because they're telling their networks about how cool y'all are. So in fitting with this being like a membership club vibes, I'm adding some events. So you get the whole list I just rattled off about what was already in the squad, but we're adding an arts hour. One of our members is an incredible creative arts facilitator, and we're adding the arts hour in there to make sure we are gaining healthy ways to express challenging emotions we're running into as entrepreneurs, because oh boy, entrepreneurship is going to test you and your resilience and your emotional regulation. And I am so excited to have this opportunity for us to be really flexing that creativity muscle and using it as a way to healthily process challenges. We're also going to have a lot of fun working on our marketing persona, crafting the vibes. We've had several talks in Squad about how powerful video is for us as buyers. And a lot of us are in the service-based industries where people are really hiring based on what it's going to be like to work with you, to pick your brain, right? To be vulnerable with you. So video is such a powerful tool, but a lot of us kind of freeze up, get a little tongue-tied, or get hung up on how we look on the video, or we show up very formal and clinical. And we have been experimenting with really fun ways to bust out of that, to turn it into an art project, maybe put on like a little Sasha Fierce stage persona. So we'll have some creative nights where we get to really craft that. Who's my marketing stage persona if I want one? Is there something I can do to kind of tap into that energy I want to embody? So we're going to have more events about crafting the vibes around our marketing, and more fun stuff. So like we've got December coming up, which is end of the year. So we're going to be doing some fun stuff for planning our business goals and marketing plan for 2026, doing a little fun vision boarding. Anyhow, it's going to be a party. And just a reminder, this is a place by and for us. And by us, I mean historically marginalized entrepreneurs. Many of us are neurodiverse, queer, BIPOC, and or jumping into tax brackets that are light years above the ones we were born into. And so we're running into some major class consciousness where we feel like we're learning new social languages, new rules, and it can kind of be uncomfortable and alienating sometimes. Basically, a lot of us are very used to being othered and falling in love with our otherness, and finding places where we don't have to be the other anymore. So in the squad, we mention it all. It's a place to vent, to process, to receive validation and cheerleading about the challenges you're experiencing in business. And no one is going to talk you out of your dreams, urge you to take a safer path, or encourage you to conform to an outdated, reductive version of professionalism. Like, this is the place where you hit your next level, and the level after that, and the level after that, and the one after that. This is the place where you get the support to do crazy things like raise your prices, demand payment up front, and 10x your sales. This is the place where you get to stop playing small and turn big dreams into your big, bold, real life. So you're invited, and perfect timing too, because we've got the once a year membership sale going on right now through December 1st, 2025. That is, I believe that's a Monday. And if you're listening to this episode in the future after December 1st, 2025, that's okay. You can still join. Even without the sale, this program is about 1/10 the price of comparable memberships of this caliber, where you receive this level of education, support, and coaching, and help on your actual business, your actual marketing. So if you'd like to sign up, you can find the link conveniently located in the show notes of this episode, wherever you're listening. You can also go straight to the website at misamessaging.com/squad. That's misamessaging.com/squad. So the link is in the show notes. And P.S., if you are in a different time zone than me, I am in Southern California, and you are concerned about event times because you've been in containers where events have been scheduled around a specific time zone, you've struggled to make live events, please do reach out. We are going international. We're working across several different time zones right now with our members, and it's really important to me to schedule with the time zones of our members in mind. I am happy to do that. I'm happy to work with you. You are also going to have immediate access to past classes, cheerleading sessions, meditations, etc. on YouTube, where I've got a private playlist where you can watch all of that stuff. I do have to update it, but there's a lot there you can access right away. And I've got a private podcast in the works, so if you prefer to listen on your favorite podcast player at your leisure, if you can't make a session or you want to go back through our whole archive since Squad was born in January 2024, then you can do that as well. You can have your own private mini podcast for members. Anyhow, thank you for listening to all of that. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I would love to see you in the squad. Reach out anytime if you have questions. Kay, love you. Bye.